Well, thank you very much, Anurag, for this opportunity. Yeah. Interestingly, I come from a different part of the spectrum. I represent a media agency, so it's all about using data. And that's something which I'm going to show. But more importantly, what I need to admit is that it has been a bit of a discovery for me and for my team. And let me be candid and tell you what happened when the presentation request came up. Somebody came and a junior planner told me, Bihar, why? Okay. And then when I look at the demographics of the Zenith Optimedia media planning team in Delhi, there were probably 15% of my colleagues who came from Bihar. And that's an interesting statistic because today, if you look at the emerging workforce things, people whom a media agency can afford and train and work with, many of them come from Patna, come from Darbhanga, come from Sitamarhi. And I will show some of their sentiments, which is probably beyond data. And it's interesting how they are seeing their own state. I'll also take you through some of the statistics which some has been shown and some bit anecdotal. And let's just go through it. Okay. Of course, currently I belong to an advertising profession. The gangs of Wasipur are doing the rounds, and probably it somewhere reinforces the impression people traditionally carry of Bihar. And when my junior planner came and asked why Bihar, I think that's the question he was coming back to. But the issue is, we understand that from advertisers' point of view, if there is real growth, if there is a new mind map, how is the advertiser going to look at it? Are they still aware? Means, are they using it? And we as the media agency, as partners, as communication partners, are we providing that cue to the advertiser? Now, this slide is interesting because this is not about the economists taking out the story of growth on Bihar. And interestingly, the first article came in January, the next article came in November of 2010. So it's really, for a magazine like Economist to carry that, the Bihar piece shows the importance that state gets as far as media is concerned. But the reason I picked this slide up was, this was part of Zenith Optimedia annual budget preparation. I was on a global con call, and somebody, senior management from my London office asked, there is this, and it was part of our expansion story. And we have presence only in Delhi and Bombay. And a senior manager from the global team asked, where is Bihar? We seem to be reading a lot about Bihar. So that's where I suddenly thought that it's incidental that, the question came up on doing a presentation. So even I think people who are reading these magazines, people in an overall, international forum, there is a certain recognition which even in our kind of field starts getting felt. Having said that, all of us have seen enough data, and if you just look at from hard data which the advertiser uses, the media agency uses, if you look at this whole sign of growth, down the line, I think Dhiraj used the word bottom of pyramid, there is a certain progress which we are seeing in the readership data in terms of demographic data, that how the rural composition of population is improving. And when we say, I don't want to get into the, the definitions of R1, R2, R3, R4, what it is saying is the quality of sanitation is improving, the quality of housing is improving, the quality of education is improving, and that's more than important enough to say that likely if these basic indices start, consumption or market movement should follow. That's one. And probably that kind of ratifies what Salil was showing in terms of the quality of upgradation of the packs on DTH. Additionally, we understand that today Bihar is still not the most affluent of markets. But if you look at just a ratio in terms of a 2008 to a 2011, kind of 5 years of growth, the average income level of Bihar has gone up by 63%, compared to a Hindi-speaking market. When I say why I took up the Hindi-speaking market was because that's really the, the hinterland, that's really part of the emerging market. The growth in Bihar in terms of average income has been higher than that of the Hindi-speaking markets. And the other thing is there is enough data to say that this is getting reflected. If you look at World Bank report, there is more tourist arrivals. You know, this whole Buddha theme is probably part of a sentiment to that. There is enough growth of motor vehicles, there is enough mobile phones. So there is a certain sentiment of consumption which we are seeing in terms of hard data. And that's also getting reflected, and Salil is ex-LG. So therefore, you know, in terms of, if you look at in terms of growth, in terms of durables, and television is something which you saw, and therefore the consumption of television in various durable categories, you are seeing a consumption coming up. The way the prices of durables are coming down, apart from making it, you know, affordable, we believe that the replacement cycles are also going to set in soon, and therefore that calls for a sustained growth of advertising investment in that market, and therefore the marketers are going to look at it pretty seriously. The other important factor as far as we are concerned, you know, in terms of doing a 3-year strategy for advertisers is the growth in literary levels of women in Bihar. And that's extremely important because that defines the quality, you know, when we were talking of the size, you know, the increased household size in Bihar. Education is important from controlling the quality of life, from controlling the quality of education the kids get, you know, and therefore it's an overall quality of life indicator. And we are seeing that, you know, there is a real progress as far as the quality of education in women are concerned. And that's leading to, if you look at in terms of penetration of branded goods, as far as FMCG markets are concerned, there is a growth in terms of penetration of FMCGs also. And that's interesting because whether the housewife or the girl or the lady of the house is asking for it, or the male of the house is going and buying for it, there is a certain amount of recognition of identity, there is a certain amount of recognition of demand, there is a certain amount of, you know, demand supply which is happening in everyday branded consumption, which is important for the marketer. Just, you know, quickly, you know, this is a Zenith Optimedia proprietary tool, and I don't want to get too much into the details of this. This is something which we call a touch point. What a touch point does is, you know, we as media practitioners, while we talk of print, TV, etc., the consumer does not really consume media in terms of just a print or a TV. You know, they hear from elders, they take advices, they see a POS. So the learning of a consumer, the brand experience that a consumer gets comes across from various platforms. Interestingly, if you look at in terms of small town India, the more important and emphatic touch points are really advice and recommendation, point of sale, and then really comes mass media. So what's interesting, and the reason we brought this up was that probably today, given that the growth stage of Bihar, media probably needs to still play a bit of an advisory role, because people today are still look up to media. And therefore, if you look at a simple statistic, that amount of time spent on a language newspaper in Bihar is higher than the amount of time spent probably in slightly more developed parts of the country. So therefore, that's something which even the advertisers probably today tap into. And I'll just show you a couple of cases how people are looking up to media. And interestingly, if you look at, you know, the small town consumer, this is not specific to Bihar, this is really small town India, television and newspaper, which are the traditional forms of information or entertainment, still rule very highly as far as the media touch points are concerned. And the other thing is, interestingly, internet has started, you know, showing a significant growth while small, and we believe that as the cost of devices come down, this is something which is going to therefore, you know, herald a new form of communication. I think Dheeraj spoke of a Bihari dictionary on Facebook. The point is, social media is important, and social media is something which we are going to see increasingly become significant even in these markets. And as far as social media is concerned, this is, if you look at the mobile base, today for less than 2,000 rupees you get feature-rich phones. The mobile advertising probably today has still not developed because advertisers still want to look at more creative-led solutions than really, very functional-led conversations. The growth in the mobile base on Bihar still has been much higher than, say, in Eastern UP, has been higher than many other parts of the world. So, many other parts of India. So, there is significant amount of growth on the mobile communication, and we now know that there are enough cases, how marketeers are using mobile platforms to try and get not only their brand communication going and try and, do lot more marketing activities. There is lot of media which is, the Bihar media market is give or take around 500 crores. That's what we understand. And interestingly, when we are sitting in a Delhi or a Bombay and doing our media plans, the local growth in Bihar media market, what we understand is more than 20%. But when the advertising which is coming into Bihar from other markets, which is say an LG advertising into Bihar, that growth is probably 7 to 8%. So while on an average it's probably petering out to around a 15 or a 16%, it's interesting to see that the local media pool is going at 20% plus, and that's an extremely robust, growth rate. And today there is enough, Salil was referring to in terms of, language programming available, the local dialect. These are some of the, I've just taken from a client examples. Today the clients are exploring local media to try and build brand connect. For the sake of confidentiality, I will not give the details, but markets have moved, market shares have moved, clients are investing in them, and these are, whether they are FMCG companies, whether they are, multinational FMCG companies, they are looking at small town products, they are looking at semi-rural products, or whether we call them, whether they are called sometimes Pragati towns, whether they are called bottom of the pyramid, there is enough experimentation that the marketer is trying to do. What probably we require, from a advertiser community is a bit more, opportunities like this to get the information going, because somewhere still, we still suffer from certain amount of mental syndrome of, that it's still backward, it's still not up there. And the sad part is that while there is a set of media planners, who come from the metros and therefore suffer from a metro syndrome, today Bihar is also recruiting a lot of these youngsters into our profession. And somewhere these boys and girls are probably getting caught in our metro syndrome and not pushing enough the cause of Bihar. And it's just not about the cause of Bihar, it's about the cause of, the emerging markets, it's about the cause of, the real India. I think that's something which will come to the fore soon. And this is something which a young Bihari boy did for me. And I liked his line. He said, today Satya, if something is there in Bihar, if something needs to be bought, it will be bought. And I thought that was a nice sentiment of optimism. Means that's something that if a Sony has to be bought, it will be bought in Bihar. It's not like 5 years before that I will not buy it, I will not flaunt it, I will not show that there will be no conspicuous consumption because there could be other issues of law and order, etc. Today, if there is something to be bought, it is to be bought. And that aspiration, this is my last slide, this is from a Forbes thing. I think, and the whole caption here is that the school has been filled up with, they have 30 teachers now, and there are 1,400 girl students which have gone up from 400. And that's really the picture of progress. And I think, if this momentum were to continue, we believe that these emerging markets will start drawing lot more advertising attention than today. Thank you.